You know who this is. You might love him. You might think he's the most irritating person on the internet. Either way, you know who he is. And that recognition, that involuntary categorization that happened in your brain the second his face appeared, that is the entire story. We just don't know it yet. RIZZ investigates Aura. Who farms it? Who fakes it? Who found the cheat code before anyone else named the game? Subscribe if you want to understand what's actually happening. Now, let's look at Jake Paul.
He is a social media megastar. His name is Jake Paul.
November 15th, 2024. At and T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Netflix. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. 108 million viewers. The most streamed sporting event in Netflix history. 60 million households watching live. Jake Paul, internet personality, YouTube era content creator. Person the internet has decided is the definition of negative aura. 1. By unanimous decision against Mike Tyson. That is the reward. That is the number. That is the result. And the first tease lives inside it. Most of those 108 million people came to watch Jake Paul lose. Think about that for exactly 1 second. The most watched sporting event in Netflix history, and the majority of the audience was actively rooting for the ending that didn't happen. They showed up to watch him fail. He's been doing this his entire career. And yet, here we are. Before we get to why, you need to know what he built to get here. Jake Paul started on Vine in 2013. He was 16. 6-second videos of himself doing things that were loud, physical, and difficult to look away from. They went viral. Not because they were good, because something in how he constructed them made you watch to the end even when you didn't want to. By 2016, Disney Channel had cast him in a show called Bizaardvark. By 2017, he had assembled Team 10, a content house in West Hollywood where a rotating cast of creators filmed whatever was guaranteed to generate a reaction that, by the time the house dissolved, he had over 10 million subscribers. In May 2017, he released It's Everyday Bro. It charted on the Billboard Hot 100. It has 400 million YouTube views. And the internet, in one of its most unified moments, decided this person has negative aura. Try hard, cringe. Clout chasing made visible and loud and deeply, constitutionally uncool. That's the reward. You now know what he built. But here's the tease buried inside it. Think about the first time you encountered It's Everyday Bro, or any Jake Paul thumbnail, any Team 10 clip, before you formed an opinion. In the fraction of a second before your brain decided how to feel about it, something made you look. Not because you wanted to, not because you admired him. You looked because there was something there your brain couldn't immediately dismiss. Something insistent and slightly wrong, like a car alarm 2 blocks away, that held your attention just long enough for an opinion to form. That fraction of a second is the whole game. Everything that followed is built inside it. And in 2017, the internet tried its hardest to end him. West Hollywood neighbors filed lawsuits. There were noise complaints, street blockages, a report of Jake Paul setting furniture on fire in the drained swimming pool at 2 in the morning. Disney Channel, the most family-friendly brand in entertainment, dropped him from Bizaardvark. His own network fired him in public. The story ran everywhere. The week after Disney dropped him, his subscriber count went up. There's your next reward. Every move that should have ended him, the Disney firing, the neighbor lawsuits, the furniture fire, generated coverage. Coverage generated views. Views generated subscribers. The people trying to end his career were extending it. Every bad headline was free distribution. But here's what you might be thinking. Okay, that's just how controversy works online. Any sufficiently dramatic person can turn bad press into attention. Logan Paul did it. Multiple creators have done it. The mechanism isn't unique to Jake Paul, which is correct. That explanation doesn't hold the weight. So, what does he do that's different? In January 2020, Jake Paul announced he was going to fight professional athletes. The internet laughed. Not politely. The kind of laugh that generates screenshots and shares. The kind of laugh that moves impressions. His first opponent was Anason Gibb, an internet personality, teammate of KSI. Jake Paul knocked him out in the first round. The people who showed up to watch him embarrass himself watched him win instead. They came back for the next fight. Next, Nate Robinson, former NBA player, November 2020.
It's sinking the hips. He's trying to get to the ring. Oh, is it? Mamma mia, the pocket Robinson. Goodness. And of course,
Jake Paul knocked him out in the second round. The image of Robinson face down on the canvas went viral. Not because Jake Paul was impressive, but because the image generated a reaction so strong it was impossible not to share. More people watched, more people came back. Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, Twice, Anderson Silva, Each fight brought more viewers than the last. Each fight was watched primarily by people who had decided Jake Paul was a joke and wanted to see him proven wrong. And then, February 2023, Tommy Fury. For the first time, Jake Paul lost. The internet celebrated loudly enough to become the biggest promotional event of his boxing career. Everyone who'd been waiting to see him fail finally got what they wanted. They shared it. They sent it to people who hadn't been watching. Millions of new people now had an opinion about Jake Paul for the first time, right before his next fight. There's the reward, the boxing arc, the pattern, the escalation. Each loss fed the next event. Each viral moment converted skeptics into the audience that would watch the next one. The Tommy Fury loss is worth sitting with for a moment. Jake Paul had gone undefeated for 3 years. He'd beaten internet personalities, NBA players, MMA champions, former world title challengers. And then Tommy Fury, the younger brother of heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, a lifelong professional boxer, handed him his first career loss by a split decision. A rational model of celebrity would predict this is where the audience stops coming back. He lost. The thing they came to see happen finally happened. There's no reason to tune in next time. Instead, the Tommy Fury loss became the event that set up the Tyson fight. The loss was what made the Tyson number possible. More people cared about what happened next because they'd been there for the loss. But none of this answers the question we've been building toward. And we're about to try 3 explanations, each of which sounds right and each of which falls apart. First attempt, it's his business instincts. Jake Paul is demonstrably sharp. He spotted the boxing opportunity before anyone else in his lane. He built Most Valuable Promotions into a real company. He structured the Netflix deal himself. Genuinely smart operator. But business instincts don't explain why 108 million people showed up on a Friday night to watch. Plenty of smart operators build good businesses that nobody watches. Second attempt, by the time of the Tyson fight, he'd earned legitimate athletic respect. You could argue the audience had genuinely started to believe in him as a fighter. Reasonable. Except his first boxing event in 2020 drew the same crowd for the same reason. They wanted to see if he could get knocked out. The mechanism was identical years before he'd proved anything. Third attempt, his Team 10 fan base just grew up and kept watching. But 108 million viewers is not a fan base number. It's a cultural event number. The original Team 10 audience cannot account for what happened on November 15th. So where did the other 90 million people come from? None of these hold. And here is where we have to tell you, we've been asking the wrong question. The entire episode, the frame we've been building, why does Jake Paul succeed with no aura, is structurally wrong, like asking what an atom looks like. The question assumes something that isn't true. The question assumes that aura, the effortless magnetism, the presence that pulls people towards you, requires admiration. That the project of aura farming is about getting people to want to be like you, and that without that, the strategy collapses. Jake Paul has been running a different experiment since 2013. How do I get people to admire me? But how do I make it so that people cannot look away? Those are not the same question. They don't share the same answer. Admiration is a choice. You can admire someone and close the tab. You can respect them and move on. Admiration lets you opt out whenever you want.
But you know what? It showed lots of courage. Come here, Jake.
Yeah, what Mr. Trump has taught me is courage. You know, we never back down from a fight, even if they're much bigger than you, much bigger than you. And I feel all the local Kentuckians feel the same way. You guys have that fight. You guys have that swag. There's a lot of young kids in here. The future of America. I grew up just a few.
Compulsion is different. Compulsion doesn't negotiate. You watch the cringe clip even though you don't want to. You share the fight clip ironic. You tune in on a Friday night to see the loss that doesn't come. And you're back for the next one because after 10 years, something in you needs to know how it ends. Jake Paul doesn't have aura. He has something that operates at scale more powerfully than aura. He has the ability to generate the feeling that watching is not a choice. Think about every time you've encountered Jake Paul content in the last 5 years and chosen to engage with it. Can you believe this is the most efficient distribution mechanism on the internet? It requires no admiration. It requires only that you feel the need to make sure someone else has seen what you saw. Jake Paul has been optimizing for that feeling since he was 16 years old. The internet coined the phrase aura farming in 2024. Jake Paul started doing the underlying thing in 2013. He's been farming compulsion, not admiration, not respect, not aspiration. Compulsion, the need to watch, the need to share, the need to have an opinion loudly so that someone else can have it too. The original aura farmer didn't find the cheat code for aura. He found something bigger. and he found it before the vocabulary existed to describe it. Come back to November 15, 2024. 108 million viewers, the most streamed sporting event in Netflix history. Most of them came to watch him lose. They delivered the audience, they generated the event, they made the number. They did exactly what the mechanism was designed to make them do, and they'll be back for the next one. Here's the strange part about the phrase aura farming. It implies that aura is something you cultivate in yourself, something that radiates outward from who you are, something the farmer grows. But Jake Paul didn't grow anything in himself. He grew it in you, in the reaction, in the share, in the tune-in, in the need to watch the next fight, in the thing you felt when you decided, before you decided anything, to look. You are the farm. The original aura farmer figured that out before the rest of the internet had a name for it, and he's been harvesting ever since. That's RIZZ. Jake Paul is already onto his next fight, already generating his next round of compulsion. Subscribe so you catch the analysis when it matters. And if you shared this, you just proved the point. See you.